What's up, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you with another Wednesday NorbCam Roundtable. Glad you guys are joining me here today. It's a beautiful day here again in the Pacific Northwest. But always there's some interesting news going on as we get ready for the draft next week already. Can't believe it. The offseason is moving fast. But some changes in the last couple days here that we definitely got to talk about and kind of find out what the positional needs are of the Seahawks now that these changes have been going on. So without further ado, let me bring up the roundtable this week. It's a little bit different looking roundtable, but I think you'll like what we got here. Here we go. So we got, there it is. We've got a three-person roundtable plus myself. And so we'll just be keeping this a little bit fun. Yes, Nick LeBeau noticing the graphic changes, using a little interface. So hopefully we won't have too many hiccups here, but we're running with it, and we'll see how it goes. So to the top left there, we got the one and only Steezy A. Smith. Steezy, welcome back to the show, man. Tell everybody what you got going on. What's new in your world, man?
Nothing too new. It's kind of the same stuff going on. So I know it sounds kind of boring, but got a video dropping later today for all my NBA fans, specifically my Stephen Curry Golden State Warrior fans. It's titled "How He Could Still Win NBA MVP in the coming weeks." So if you're a Warriors fan, if you watch basketball, if you're tuned in, definitely be sure to check that out. But definitely show everybody here some love. At NorbCam, as Squabo says. And then last but not least, can't forget Seahawks Martin, coach for life. And then shout out Sky High Aviation.
Yes, Sky High Aviation, the special guest here today. I'm going to introduce him just a second. Here, as a result of his many wins on the trivia contest, I've owed him an opportunity to be on the roundtable, and today is that day. I'll get to him in a second, but let's go to Squabo. Squabo, all the way from the Palouse at Washington State University. Squabo, as Squabo says, what you got going on, man? What's the latest in your world?
Man, real quick, before I get into what's going on in my world, how about the fact that she's just being way too humble over there? How about the fact that you talking about he got nothing new? Didn't this man just get monetized? Didn't this just become another job for him?
Yeah.
A dream career, nothing new. He just got another form of income. Congratulations, brother. we can't just move past that without talking about it. You're far too humble, my brother.
Man, shoot, I almost forgot myself. Bro, thank you so much. That I really appreciate that, bro. For real, like that's very touching. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that is congratulations, man. That is a huge accomplishment because as a YouTuber, when you start from scratch, you kind of go, man, how do I get this going? And then you get your first one, you get your first sub, and it's the coolest thing. And then you get to the 100, and then it's like, okay, each milestone marks the next one. And that big one, of course, is when you can get monetized and actually get a little bit of something coming in to help with all the work you're putting in. And man, I know Steve, you've been doing so much work. So yes, it should definitely be mentioned that congratulations on hitting that next level. So now it's upward and onward, right?
Yes, sir. Sky's the limit. To the moon.
That's right. Sky high is the limit. But Squabo, you were just starting to get into what's been going on with you, man. So continue your update in the world of Squabo.
Yeah, Norb, I was talking to you and Scott High about it a little bit before the show. This week, it is finals week officially, and not officially. It's finals week officially for me. And what I mean by that is I have a class where one of my finals is due this week, even though finals week is technically not yet at Washington State University. I've been scrambling all week and last week to complete a 3 to 7 minute documentary completely by myself for one of my classes. It's a 200-point final. So I've been working on that nonstop. Do not expect another video from me this week. That is going to be my video this week. I'm working on a 3 to 7 minute documentary for one of my classes on how to run a TV station during a pandemic.
Wow, man. So that's awesome, man, because I've dabbled in a couple documentaries here and there, and I respect this ambition of yours. But did you say 3 to 7 minute or 37 minute?
Yeah. No. 3 to 7.
Okay, I was going to say 37 minutes. I was going to say due by the end of this or by Sunday. Woo, you got your work cut out for you. 3 to 7. Okay, you can do it, man. You can do it. But I know when it comes to those things, it's challenging as heck.
It's possible. It's very possible. Unfortunately, like I told you just briefly, my partner ended up dropping out from dropping out of the class with 2 weeks to go in the documentary. So I had to completely shift gears, completely come up with a new idea for the documentary. It was about to be a football documentary until last week. So last minute had to shift gears. Thankfully, my team at Cable 8 has been very helpful. I just have to, for the next 4 days, I'm going to be right here in this chair editing.
Well, that's not the worst place to be. It's fun to be in these projects. You just live it, you immerse yourself in it. But I can't wait to see it. You're going to post it online for all of us to see, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely check it out. It's way too much work to not share with you guys.
Okay, all right. We'll definitely be watching for sure. So let's. Anything else you want to mention besides the documentary? I guess that is going to be your life for the next 5 days or so, right?
And it's been for the last 5 days or so.
Well, 200-point final. That is huge. So good luck, man. Good luck. I appreciate, despite the fact how busy you are, you could easily have just said no time to do the roundtable, but you're taking some time to do it anyway, and I appreciate it. So let's go to our. You bet, man. So let's go to our special guest, Sky High Aviation. Sky High. It's been a while since you've been on the panel. You have been on the show in either different forms, commentating on my Madden shows, appearing as guests, but it's good to have you on the roundtable here today, man. What do you want to tell anybody about what you got going on your channel, man, at Sky High Aviation?
Not much, Norb. Obviously, we've had something called the coronavirus come through and sweep us off our legs the past year and a half. So I haven't been able to travel yet, but hopefully this summer we got some possible travels coming up soon. Maybe we can upload. Maybe I'll be able to upload once finally. But I'm super excited to be here to talk football with guys tonight. That's pretty much it. So happy to be here. Also, Squabo's partner is he's an a-hole for dipping on him. I just gotta point that out. He's an idiot.
Thank you, brother, man. Thank you.
That's his loss.
Yeah, man. That means just all the glory and credit is going to go to you. This is your own deals, man. So that's all right, man. You'll get it done. Complete faith and confidence. It's going to be good.
If I get a good grade on this, I am actually really excited about that because yes, every other group is doing it in pairs of two. I'm the only person doing it by myself. There's a team of 3, and I'm doing it by myself with 2 weeks to go on the semester. So if I can really get this thing done, I'm going to be thrilled. I'm going to be proud, and I'm not doing anything for a week.
Yeah. Well, that would be a much deserved break if you get through this thing, man. But you should get like some extra bonus points for doing it by yourself. I mean, everybody else has got 2. Some people got 3. That's a lot of weight to be doing it all on your own, man. So I don't know whether they weigh that into consideration or not.
Last thing about it, I promise. I have to give a quick shout out to Mr. Connolly Roden, my professor, because he has been more than flexible with me. He got me out of an assignment, the rough cut, essentially the rough draft. He completely removed it for me when my partner flaked, and he's extended deadlines for me to make this possible. It's still extremely stressful, still a huge project, but he has made it possible for me. So thank you, Connolly.
All right. And if your teacher is watching, so know that this man is even taking the time to do this very important, at least important to me and hopefully to some of the viewers out there, for his presence when he could be spending this very crucial hour working on his documentary. But we'll make that hour worthwhile. Some people are asking about, am I going to be able to bring in Discord today? Because of this new setup and because of our short time, unfortunately, we will not be able to. There won't be any trivia or phone calls today. We're going to have to keep this a very tight schedule today, but we'll get back onto it in our next one. Actually, tomorrow. My hope is to bring that back in when we do a fan panel tomorrow. So let's jump into our topic now. So first, I want to talk about the kind of surprise news that just sort of seemed to come out of nowhere. The Pierre Desir signed by the Seahawks this morning, and I don't know how earth-shaking this news is, but it is a position of need that we have, as today we're discussing about what are the positions of need for the Seahawks. So cornerback Pierre Desir, drafted back in 2014, originally 4th rounder with the Cleveland Browns, and I totally forgot that he had actually had a little stint with the Seahawks, never really stayed with the Seahawks during the regular season, more of a practice squad guy, bounced around from Cleveland, Indianapolis, the Colts, a little stint with the Ravens, and now here we are in Seattle picking him up on a 1-year deal. I don't know if if you guys have seen the numbers on that yet. At the time I saw it, they weren't talking about the numbers. I'm imagining it's a pretty low deal. But let's break this down. Steezy, let's start with you, man. What was your reaction to the signing of Pierre Desir? Is this anything to get to write mom home about, or is this just kind of a depth signing? What do you think?
Oh, definitely just a depth signing. He had 3 interceptions last year, but he was released by the Jets, and the Jets had one of the worst secondaries in football. So that's not a very encouraging sign. He was able to latch on with the Baltimore Ravens, but no one really wanted to poach him off their practice squad, and so I'm not too sure what he's going to bring to the table, aside from the fact that he's going to bring depth, he's going to bring experience, and at least he might somewhat know the system. Like you said, Norb, he did spend some time with the Seahawks, albeit the practice squad. And he is a physical guy. He can get down when it comes to tackling runners. When it comes to run defense, he can contribute in that area. But when it comes to his coverage, he's a little inconsistent, leaves a little to be desired. While he did have 3 picks last year, he did allow 5 touchdowns. And when quarterbacks threw his way, they completed about 78% of their passes when completing passes in his direction. And so he's a little inconsistent, but at the end of the day, he is a depth piece, and I hope that his signing doesn't prevent us from going after a corner in the draft.
Okay, so Steezy thinks this is not going to change much of whatever the strategy was going into it remains unchanged. Squabo, how about you? What do you think? What does the signing of Pierre Desir mean to the Seahawks?
Well, this is like Terry Crews. He's a solid body for our roster. Pierre Desir had 3 interceptions last year. He had 3 interceptions the year before. Some of his more notable matchups, that playoff game, or he spent 2 years in Indy. He was there for that playoff game where Andrew Luck took Indy into Houston and pretty much shut down Houston in that game, where he matched up against a guy that we're now very familiar with, DeAndre Hopkins, who's now on the Arizona Cardinals, and he's going to have to take twice a year once again. So he's familiar with DeAndre Hopkins. That's a significant piece of this puzzle. In that game, DeAndre Hopkins didn't have the best game, and Pierre Desir was a significant part of that. Yes, Stacey absolutely nailed it on the head, or hit the nail on the head, when he said that Pierre Desir isn't great at coverage. As a matter of fact, he reminds me of Jamal Adams, but not the good part of Jamal Adams, the bad part, where he gets mossed a lot. And that's what happened last year when he played for the Jets, when Jerry Jeudy had, I believe, his first NFL touchdown over Pierre Desir, when Pierre Desir should have had a pick in that game. So he's definitely had some moments where he's gotten embarrassed. He also had, I believe, a 58-yard pick 6 last year, so it wasn't all bad. He's a hit-or-miss player. He lined up like 90% of his NFL snaps on the outside, and we have a bunch of slot guys right now, so it does fit what we need, but it doesn't fit everything that we need. At this point of free agency, it's still a good deal, but definitely need more bodies in the draft.
Okay, all right. So how about you, Sky High Aviation? What's your take on Pierre Desir?
Before we begin, my brother actually came in and he knocked over the green screen. I'm pretty sure it was intentional because he knows we're live right now. So he's working on it right now. But the Pierre Desir signing, I'm not surprised by it, and I'm gonna tell you why. I think what Pete Carroll and John Schneider are trying to do right now are trying to rebuild kind of that, kind of get a good group of guys in at corner. We've seen quite a couple of corner signings. I wouldn't be surprised if we go after a dude in the draft. And we talk about, I want to kind of compare him to a guy like Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman was drafted. He was brought in with guys that we know that were part of a championship team in 2013. Walter Thurman, Byron Maxwell, Brandon Browner. He was in there to compete for a starting job with 5 other guys. Right now, we have a starting job open in the corner, and right now, it looks like as of right now, we're wheeling in corners to see who can compete at the starting for the starting job. We've got Trey Flowers, we've got Kel Witherspoon, we've got Desir now, and now we're starting to, and you kind of see a pattern. We're starting to wheel in these guys to see who's going to compete for that starting corner job along with DJ Reed. Obviously, Pete Carroll did this back in the 2011 season, back in the 2012, trying to find that starting corner. And I think what we're doing is we're doing a good job. Plus, Desir has improved his play from when he last played with the Seahawks. You mentioned the 3 interceptions. You mentioned that he's been on a lot of teams. He's a seasoned veteran. And we'll see if he's able, he may not even make the roster, but we'll see if he's able to step up during the practice and training camp to possibly, again, it's all about competition in Pete Carroll's world, to step up and possibly make this roster, possibly start, because we don't really have depth over on one side of the corner. So now I got to go fix my green screen while you guys talk on that. So.
Okay, all right. So, there's so much about if you can get a good pass rush, if your defensive line can put pressure and take the pressure off of your secondary, then maybe these weaknesses that we see in some of these cornerbacks are minimized when you have a really good pass rush. That brings me to our talk about defensive end. Last time we talked, we were speculating about the signing of Aldon Smith. He was in town for the visit a week ago, and then shortly thereafter they announced, hey, he was signed, and I know we were all pretty excited about the news. And then just after we finally got off the excitement of the news, before the ink on the contract even had dried, we hear about this assault or this the second-degree battery charge, which now results in him basically now being turned himself in because of an arrest warrant. What do you guys think? What was your take on what happened with Aldon Smith, and how does this affect our defensive end situation? Steezy, what do you think with the Aldon Smith news? Reaction to that, and then what does that mean for the Seahawks?
Oh boy, this one's tough. I was actually going to make a video talking about how Aldon Smith makes the Seahawks one of the best teams at getting after the quarterback, but then news broke that he was wanted in Louisiana because of a second-degree battery charge. But given that he was just a luxury for the Seattle Seahawks, even without him, the Seahawks should still field, I think, a top 10 sack rate in the NFL next season. But the fact that he's versatile, he's able to fill a variety of roles for the Seahawks. Potentially, if he's able to remain on the roster, he could play linebacker like he did in San Fran. You could put him at the defensive end spot. You can kind of rotate him with a whole bunch of other bodies that we have on the defensive line. But all in all, I don't think it impacts us too drastically, just because, like I said, he was a luxury for the team. But I was kind of excited about the potential that he brought to Seattle, seeing as how he was brought in on a veteran minimum deal, very low risk, high reward. And so the fact that Seattle has yet to cut him, I think that means something good. I mean, he was released on bond after turning himself in earlier today. And so hopefully things point to his favor. I know he has a pretty checkered history. He did miss 4 years. He was suspended. He's dealt with a whole lot of issues. But I did see him post on Instagram before he ended up shutting his story down. He was talking about how he did what he did because his pregnant sister was physically getting abused, or she was being choked or something like that. So let's hope that this was an act of self-defense. But he did take his story down. So until more facts are kind of given out, there's not too much else to kind of give in. And the Seahawks kind of said the same thing. Until further details are out, they're not really going to comment any further. But I was excited for his addition. I hope he's able to stay with the team. And everyone's innocent until proven guilty. And so I don't want people to comment to rush to conclusions and label him as, oh, he's back to his old ways and whatnot. I mean, we got to give him a chance, and we kind of have to let the process play itself out.
We had a similar situation with Aaron Donald. Talked about that, how Aaron Donald was being accused of assaulting a gentleman, I believe it was in a Pittsburgh club late at night, and it turns out that whole story was he'd gotten wrong. The accuser apologized for having sent out that misinformation, and Aaron Donald was clear of the case. Now, this seems to be different because I don't think Aldon Smith is not saying he didn't do it, since he did post it about it and saying that he was doing it in defense of his sister. The sad thing about this is that he's got so many hits against him. His past certainly doesn't bode well for him getting a break or any leniency from a would-be judge who's going to have to evaluate the situation. But like you said, until the facts are all in, we can't really rush to judgment on it. Squabba, what was your thoughts on what happened with Aldon Smith on this crazy last few days, from visiting the Seahawks, getting signed, and then having a warrant for his arrest, and then turning himself in, and now being out on bond? What's your thoughts?
Well, Steezy nailed it seconds ago. You nailed it earlier when you streamed and you spoke about the Pierre Desir signing, but also the Aldon Smith deal. And we can't speak on exactly what's going to happen throughout this court process. We don't know all the details. We don't know the police report and all that stuff. We don't have all that stuff. What I will tell you is this. His impact to Seattle is similar to that one uncle that kind of gets the courtesy invite to the wedding. You know, you'd love to have him there, but he's always telling stories about how back in his day he was so successful, but he's kind of derailed a little bit off the field, had a lot of off the field problems, whether it be drug related, whether it be physical or altercations all throughout his career. He's had a bunch of problems, and you would love to have your uncle at the wedding, but he's not one of the mandatory pieces that's going to make or break your wedding. That's what Aldon Smith is to Seattle this year. Yes, it would be great to have him, to add him to our pass rush. It puts us over the top of a lot of other teams, but we already have an elite pass rush, in my opinion, and Aldon Smith isn't going to make or break us this season.
But it would sure be nice to have that extra little bit, right? It certainly would have been nice to have that option. But as it stands, it is uncertain. Isn't it strange how even last year, we went through the same thing with Quentin Dunbar, didn't we? Quentin Dunbar was like, all right, Quentin Dunbar, best cornerback in the league. It's going to be great. And then all of a sudden, this whole legal thing happened, and it looked like he's going to go to jail. And then by some miracle, he gets cleared and joins the team. But then he never really quite joins the team. He's there for a few games, hampered with injuries, and then he's gone. So we never quite got to see that full thing happen. We'll see what happens with Aldon Smith here. Sky High Aviation, you got your green screen fixed, it looks like. Let's get your take. We've been talking about Aldon Smith and the crazy ride that has been going on with him for the last few days. What's your take on Aldon Smith, and what does that mean for Seattle, looking like, unless things change for the better, unlikely that he's going to be playing much in a Seahawks uniform? What's your take? Oh, hold on a second. Hold on. There we go. Try that again.
Am I muted?
Oh, I got you.
Muted? Oh,
You're
okay,
good. You're good. You're good.
A couple days ago when we first signed him, I was like, woo, this pass rush is already elite. Like Spabo says, we're going to have such a good defensive line. Couple days later, I'm kind of thinking, oh no, he's got a warrant issued. This guy's already been to jail before. This dude's already been, he's been washed up legally. And now I found out that he's been doing alleged battery in New Orleans while he's a Seahawk. Like, dude, come on. Like, you're coming to play for the best team in the National Football League. You're about to make our defensive line super elite. I'm super pumped to have you. You're such a great pass rusher. You're making the comeback. You're talking with Jay Glazer. You're doing all this stuff, and then you just turn yourself in, and you're going to jail. Like, this is the last thing I need. Like, the absolute last thing that the Seahawks need right now, because we literally, I mean, like, I don't know how to put it. This is a beautiful signing, a great signing, and it just gets thrown away. It's always bad luck that happens to our team. Think about it. Always bad luck. I consider the Super Bowl interception luck from Malcolm Butler. It's just bad luck to us. And the streak continues this year. It's just, I don't know what to say for Alvin Smith. I mean, he's a great player, but like, he's falling back. He's going backwards from where he actually came. He is going like straight up backwards, and that's all I can say. I think, what is his play that I can compare him to? What? Yeah. I would say Brandon Brown. I know he's had some issues before too. If I were to compare him to another player,
that is a fair comparison. He was here with Seattle during the heyday. Left, ended up being one of the key players on that play you just mentioned about the bad luck 1-yard interception play. Brandon Browner had a huge part in that.
He's actually in prison right now.
I know. I was going to get to that. He returned to the Seahawks. Didn't really have much in terms of a return with Seattle. I think they ended up cutting him shortly after his initial return, and then he ends up going to jail. I think, didn't he murder somebody? It was pretty bad.
Attempted murder.
Attempted murder. Anyway, it was so maybe not as bad as that situation. He's not in jail yet, but I guess we'll find out if Aldon Smith can stay out of prison right now. That's a very 50-50 situation, given that the charge that he got does come with a prison sentence up to 8 years, I believe. So not looking good for him at this moment. Squabble, I know you have to go shortly, so I want to get your take on things before you leave. So Steezy had talked about some good topics here as we're discussing the needs of the Seahawks. Mentioned about, is Freddie Swain the answer at wide receiver 3? Should we consider returning Sheldon Richardson back? He had a good stint here that 1 year, a couple of years, 3 seasons ago or 4 seasons ago. Sheldon Richardson, could he be a player we want to look at? What's your take on those two players? First of all, Freddie Swain, and then talk about Sheldon Richardson before you have to take off.
Well, Sheldon Richardson, I feel like he could join Seattle if he's willing to join Seattle pretty much on an internship. Like, he cannot be making a lot of money anymore. He's been making $12.3 per year every year in Cleveland. It was a 3-year deal, 4.5 sacks last year, 3 the year before. Those are not the numbers that he was expecting to get when he signed that deal, especially playing alongside the likes of Myles Garrett, Larry Ogunjobi, and some other good pass rushers in Cleveland. So Richardson hasn't been the same guy that people wanted him to be early on in his career with the Jets. But he still did have a solid year, at least in the big games for Seattle. He had that interception against the Rams, but he only had 1 sack in his year with Seattle. So not the most stellar season, but we could definitely use some interior defensive line help if the price is right for a very, very cheap deal, considering that he just got paid. Freddie Swain, on the other hand, I think he fills the role if we need him to. I think he makes a better wide receiver 4, but I definitely think he could be wide receiver 3 if we're unable to trade back and get a bunch of picks, or if whatever wide receiver we draft turns into another Amara Darboh or someone that doesn't end up playing for us or is unsuccessful. Freddie Swain is a good safety net at number 3, but I would definitely prefer to have a better guy at number 3.
And who would that better guy be? Do you have a player in mind that if you could pick, or I guess realistically, who's out there that the Seahawks could get? I know there's been a lot of talk about Antonio Brown. What do you think? Who do you think would be the perfect fit for, if it's not Freddie Swain, then who?
Well, AB is ideal, but now he wants a more long-term deal. Long-term for him could mean 2 to 3 years instead of a 1-year deal, but he believes that because he played on this 1-year deal, he has earned his way to a 2-3-year deal with another team in the league. Another team he's talking about going to, potentially Kansas City, and what a scary thought that is. Ideally, I want AB to join Seattle because that's what Russell Wilson wants, and I'm still worried about mending that relationship because I'm not getting complacent now that the rumors have stopped for a week and a half. But if not AB, which AB is still pretty unlikely, I say we don't go after a free agent wide receiver. I say we go after a guy in the draft. And the reason I say that is because we don't have any top-end picks. We don't have any early-on picks that we can just spend on a wide receiver, especially considering the wide receiver core that we have. So no matter what, we're picking a guy late. I don't have a specific name, but if we pick a guy late or get an undrafted guy, it's going to be one of those hard-nosed, blue-collar, block first. You're not going to get a lot of targets. It's a run-first system, and there are 2 all-pro wide receivers in front of you. So you know you're not going to get a lot of reps. That's why I don't think it's a very hot free agent destination for free agent wide receivers. But if you're trying to make a name in the NFL, and a lot of teams have already passed on you, that is the role that I think would be best suited for Seattle. So go after a late wide receiver in the draft, undrafted, 6th, 7th, 5th round of the NFL draft, and make them compete for a spot with Freddie Swain.
All right, so Steezy, let's go to you, man, because you are the ones in our little pre-show talk. You brought these names up, and when we were brainstorming about topics, so I know you've got a thought or two about this. Steezy, what's your take on Freddie Swain, wide receiver 3, and why did you bring up Sheldon Richardson? What do you see there as potential? Oh, hold on a second. Oh, lost your sound there. There you go. You're good.
So I honestly don't think Sheldon Richardson will be in Seattle because I don't think he takes a veteran minimum deal, which I think at this point or at this stage in the offseason, that's really the only amount of money that the Seahawks would be willing to give him. He didn't want to, restructure his contract. He was due $12 million in Cleveland, and so I'm pretty sure he's looking at somewhere along the lines of $6 to $7 million, and there really isn't much cap space around the league, and so if he's looking for that type of money, it's gonna be a while. I'd love for him to be back in Seattle. He was here a couple of years ago. I thought while he didn't have the best year, he was a very serviceable starter for us, and I think we have a huge need at defensive tackle. He was a one-time Pro Bowler. He did win NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, and so he brings that to the table. He's a run stuffer, and I think that in losing Jaron Reed, we lost our best run stuffer. I think Puma Ford could definitely pick up the slack, but a guy like Sheldon Richardson, who's familiar with playing in Seattle, who has who feels a need, and as long as the price is right, like Squab said, I mean, I think it's ideal for him to land in Seattle, but I'm just not too sure if that's very likely. So I'm not going to have too much hope, but it is an option. And maybe if after the draft he still finds himself unsigned, then maybe he's willing to take a veteran minimum deal with the team that he's played for. And really, it's still kind of recent in which he played for Seattle. I mean, it's only been a couple of years. And so if he's going to take a massive pay cut, I don't see why it wouldn't be in Seattle. And as for Freddie Swain, I'm also with Squab. Ideally, I wouldn't want to see him at wide receiver 3, but if he is at wide receiver 3 moving forward, then that can only mean that Pete Carroll is very intrigued by what he brings to the table, his potential. I thought he showed a few flashes last season. I would like to see a little bit more consistency, but we'd also have him at kick returner and punt returner, and so he's going to have a whole bunch of roles on this football team. Even if we do slot him in at wide receiver 3, we still need depth at wide receiver, and so maybe some of the guys that we target in the draft, maybe those guys could be a wide receiver 4. Maybe we take a guy in round 2 and push Freddie Swain to being a wide receiver 4. But I think with all those things being said, I think he offers a lot of potential, a lot of upside, and I think the future is bright for him in Seattle. Options at wide receiver 3, like Squab said, once again, I think AB would definitely be ideal. And I still think a reunion with Golden Tate. I mean, Alina Dahl brought it up, so I hope that's still in the works. Obviously, the relationship between him and Russ has to be cool. Russ has to give the okay, because there's no way we're bringing on a guy who ruined Russell Wilson's previous marriage/relationship without his approval. And so as long as things are good, I would like to see a Golden Tate come in, because I think we need a shifty guy who could create separation at the line of scrimmage, who can create yards after the catch. Golden Tate's still one of the best in the business. We've been very abysmal when it comes to yards after the catch, and so I think he's a guy that could help to fix that. And in the draft, I mean, there's a lot of guys out there. Elijah Moore from Ole Miss. There's Rondale Moore from, I'm butchering. I don't know what college. I forgot what college he went to, but there's a whole bunch of options. I mean, this is a deep class at wide receiver, and so we have a lot of options, different directions to go in, and I'm curious to see how we attack that position and need moving forward.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Golden Tate. Golden Tate, Alina Dahl, I believe, still stands by her claim that it's going to happen. It hasn't happened yet, but the season is still young. But one thing I liked about Golden Tate, he was always just a really tough runner after the catch, because he wasn't he a running back in college? Didn't he have a little more of a before he became receiver? So I thought he'd had some running back experience. So I mean, the guy was always real physical, and I think even though he's a few years older now, I think he can still to play that physical role in terms of bringing
easy.
something that. So we'll see. I'm still gonna. I'm waiting for that day to hear the announcement so I can give Alina Dahl a huge a boost of credit for breaking that months ago. So we'll see what happens there. Mm-hmm. So Sky High Aviation, what's your take, man, on these two players we've been talking about, Sheldon Richardson and Freddie Swain? Oh, gosh, I got you. Hold on. Got you muted again. Hold on a second. Let's start over. Let's start it again. There you go. Go for it, man.
Okay. I was about to say, I thought you muted. I still think you had me muted. But Sheldon Richardson, again, I think he's a guy who we can't afford, really, unless there's a Price is Right deal, or is there something that, he can agree on a short and small deal, that'll get him through the 2021 season. But other than that, there are also some other guys that we can go out there and get. There's guys, I know we heard some rumors about Geno Atkins possibly coming to Seattle. There's other guys like Jarrell Casey. He's a bit old. He's older. K1 Short. Shelby Harris. I know he's been pretty good in Denver. Antoine Woods, I don't like him because he's the guy who game ruled Carson and that Cowboys game, causing him to get injured. But as for that, there's plenty of guys that we can go with. I know there's a strategy that Pete Carroll loves to run. He loves to have sometimes his defensive end actually play on the inside. I know we saw that sometimes with Michael Bennett. That gives the guys that often left Bruce Irvin actually to run out of the edge. But in case he wants to go back to that, there are some guys I can go get. We can go re-sign Bruce Irvin. We can re-sign a guy like Alex Okafor. I don't know if Everson Griffin's still on the market. Deion Jordan is a name that I think is good. I like Deion Jordan. He was pretty good in his time here. So definitely lots of options there. And, of course, we can go after guys in the draft, of course, as well. To the wide receiver 3, again, I know there's a lot of people that are like, let Swain cook, let him go to 3. I don't think he's there yet. I see him as a new age Jermaine Kearse, really. I think that's what Seattle's going for. He's the next Jermaine Kearse. And, of course, Kearse only started developing and becoming a good wide receiver a couple years into his career. So he's only known for making big plays when we need him, which is great, of course. But he is. I see Freddie Swain as a new Jermaine Kearse, but there's other wide receivers again that mention out there. Antonio Brown, we can go out and sign if he's looking for a short-term deal, which I heard he's not. Golden Tate, of course. Elena Dahl mentioning Golden Tate. I actually want to bring this up. This was a tweet that I saw a couple weeks ago. I don't know if this is real. It is real, actually. Nick LeBeau did confirm it. So some guy at Golden Tate on Twitter, Showtime Tate come home. Of course, he's a Seahawks fan, and he says, okay, 12th man, hashtag, ... whatever. What do you think of this? I mean, this clearly tells me that he is interested in coming back, and that he wants to come back. So.
It's if it's on Twitter, then it's official. You might as well just ink it in and call him part of the roster, right? He said, okay means I'm coming, I'm signed. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, who knows? When you're sniffing around, this reminds me of like the Russell Wilson time when there was all that controversy. Every little step he made, every little word he said or didn't say. Oh, he didn't say go Hawks. He must be leaving. Oh, he's not wearing any Seahawks gear. Must be leaving. Everybody overreacts, and so Golden Tate says okay. He must be coming back because he said okay. I don't know. We'll see. It is intriguing. I saw in the chat. Who was it? It was. Somebody was saying, Rosalind Smith said, Golden Tate is washed. I think it means washed up. I'm tired of bringing back old guys. He's not the Golden Tate of 2012, 2013, but, again, you get what you pay for in that regard. So, but I'm with you that, man, the draft is definitely full of lots of receivers that could, I think, easily fit the bill. And even though we don't have a lot of picks, I'm sure they will find a way to manufacture them. It'll be fun to see what John Schneider can come up with.
Same with the free agents. All the free agent that's left are all pretty much 3 receivers. Tate, Amendola, Brown, Demir Bird, Farrell Cooper. Not necessarily Dez Bryant. I don't know why I said Dewez. Marquise Lee, Josh Gordon, which I don't know if he'll be playing football anytime soon. There's a lot of guys that are out there. Maybe Danny Amendola is a name. He's old. You can call him washed up, but you never know. He's a pretty good wide receiver that we could keep our eyes on. So lots of names out there.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Like you said, lots of names, both free agency as well as in the draft. Squabble, I know you got to go here soon, but any last words before you leave? I know it's 6 o'clock. Your chariot's about to turn into a pumpkin. You got a documentary to work on, amongst other things. Any last words to leave us with as we discuss what the Seahawks need to do moving forward, or anything else on your mind? Squabble, your last words before you leave the show.
Please send help. I'm about to work on the documentary as much as possible, as fast as possible, but other responsibilities still for the rest of the week. Next week, I'm doing a draft watch party, at least during the first day one. I'm hoping to connect with Norb, potentially Steezy, next week when the draft happens, so definitely stay tuned for that. But other than that, stay tuned for a well put together documentary coming to you sometime this weekend, 3 to 7 minutes, about how to run a TV station during a pandemic.
It sounds like a great. I'll watch it. I definitely want to hear what it's like to run a TV station during a pandemic. Good luck to you, man. I hope everything turns out for you. I know this is worth a lot, and it's an important, not only for your grades, but just this is your first documentary, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It is.
So I can't wait to see it, man. Good luck. I know it's going to be, if it's like anything you do, it's going to be good. So we look forward to checking it out. Thanks for making time to come on the show, man. All right, so make sure you guys check out Squabo. That Squabo Says. Also, his link to his YouTube channel is in the description. So thank you for joining, Squabo. Let's switch back over to Steezy. Any other positions in your mind that Seattle needs to address? I mean, I think cornerback has been talked to death. We talked a little bit about the defensive tackle position. Are there any other positions do you feel like we have neglected to discuss that still needs to be addressed beyond those two obvious ones?
I think definitely a tackle. I don't see it as an immediate need for the Seahawks right now. We have Dwayne Brown at left tackle, and I think Brandon Shell, for all of his faults, he's still a serviceable starter at the right tackle position. He just has to stay healthy, and so I'm content with those two moving forward. But I would like to see a long-term option on the table, and that's just something we don't have right now. Dwayne Brown, I only see like another 1 or 2 years in Seattle. Brandon Shell's contract runs out at the end of this year, and so we're definitely going to need a guy that we could groom, a guy that we can build for the future, a tackle of the future. And so left tackle / right tackle, it really doesn't matter. Whoever falls to us, I'd like to address that position in the draft, or whether that's via trade or bringing in another free agent. I think that's a position that definitely needs to be addressed.
How about you, Sky High? Any other spots that you feel like we haven't talked enough about that Seattle needs to bolster, get more talent in there? Any other areas besides
center? Center. I don't like where we're sitting at with center right now. Ethan Posick was okay last year. He wasn't great, but center seems like a legitimate issue to me because we don't have a backup center. We don't have a backup center because God knows it's the Seahawks offensive line. We had Reese Odiombo starting as one of our offensive linemen, and he's terrible. So I think it's an addressed issue it's an issue that we need to address, possibly with our second draft pick in the 5th round if we don't trade back, possibly with our second round draft pick that we could address the center issue with, even though we want to focus more on the defensive line on that pick, or a wide receiver possibly. So I think we could go out and still possibly get somebody. I don't know who's available on the market still. I can check real quick, but don't want to waste time. So I think it's still an issue of need. Other on the defense, again, corner is still an issue of need. I would like to see KJ Wright back if that's possible. There's literally been nothing on him coming back yet or anything. There's literally no interest. He's just sitting on the couch waiting for his agent to call him for a deal that they may have. And other than that, I think this team looks pretty set, other than let's get Michael Dixon an extension when it's time to do that, because this dude's absolutely the best punter in the world.
Oh, I think we've got probably the best kicking duo that the Seahawks have seen in a long, long time. Hauschka and John Ryan, of course, were probably the other two favorites that we had a great run with, but these guys have been solid. I mean, Jason Myers was 100%, right? He was completely perfect when it came to field goals last year. I mean, how often does that happen, especially in Seattle? I think our best kickers, I don't know if we've ever had too many 100%, field goal percentage kickers in a season. And I don't think that's been talked about enough. And most people don't talk about kickers. This is not something that's very exciting, right? But when you have a kicking duo that you don't ever have to worry about, oh man, I hope he doesn't choke on this one, or I hope Michael Dixon can at least kick the ball 40 yards. It's nice to know that we got that covered, because man, those guys can change the game. While everything else being equal, if the kicking game isn't on, they can win or lose games for you, and we know that too well from 2017 when the Blair Walsh project was there.
Jason Myers never went to the Pro Bowl. He was never put in the Pro Bowl. But Younghoe Koo was. Younghoe Koo stuffed a kick in Kansas City. I remember watching that. I was like, he missed it. And then Dixon, obviously the best punter in the league, didn't get All-Pro or Pro Bowl. Neither of these two guys. So right. I think they're kind of severely underrated. Every time they kick the ball, I hold my breath. But Jason Myers was just so was amazing to watch. Even though we didn't have any walk-off wins or any of that this past year, it's incredible seeing him make all these field goals from all different angles. 61 yards in an brand new indoor stadium. He's nailing 50-yard field goals left and right. It's just, and Michael Dixon and putting beautiful punts. Last year he struggled a bit. This year he definitely rebounded. And the long snapper Tyler Ott always doing his job, just snapping the ball 5 yards, snapping the ball back 10 yards, no mistakes. All a great three-group duo or the Tres Amigos group of our special teams right there. Amazing.
I tell you, man, I keep saying it. It's a position that nobody thinks about. But, if you're going to if you had a job you can focus on, a good career, is just be a long snapper, man. Because it's super important. But if you become good at it, you never have to get hit because they're protected. You can't hit the long snapper. So you got the best job in the world. All you got to do is snap the ball and just make sure that guy catches it back there, and you got a great career. So yeah, Tyler Ott, man, he's sitting in a good spot. Younghoe Koo, though, the thing about him is that dude could kick some onside kicks, though. We need to get some Younghoe Koo lessons on how to kick onside kicks, because we can't kick an onside kick to save our lives. And one of these days, we're going to need that again. And it's just not something that has been happening in Seattle. So somebody needs to go in there and get some YouTube videos on how Younghoe Koo kicks is, because, man, we suck at onside kicks. They need to. That's one thing. As great as our kicking duo is, we got no onside kick game. It's nothing everyone ever plans for. Yeah.
It's not that hard to actually kick that onside kick. I mean, you run up and you just hit it, and you gotta kick it, and it makes sure it's like a little kid kicking it. He runs, he goes up, boots it, it bounces in the air. You just gotta get that one bounce, because you don't kick it in the air.
It's funny. It's funny you say that, because when you think about it, it takes a professional kicker to kick field goals the way they do, right? Because they have to kick it high and hard, the leg strength. When it comes to an onside kick, you're right. I think I could kick an onside kick by accident, because it really is this sort of unusual, awkward, short. I mean, I could kick a ball 10 yards. I mean, how hard is that? But, you watch, like when Koo does it, he does it where he puts the ball on no tee. It's just sideways, and he kicks it in that funky little spinning motion, and it just sort of wobbles along, and then they just don't know when to grab it or not. It seems like it wouldn't be that hard. So, I could do it. I'll do it. I'll just become an onside kick specialist. I could do that. They just sign me up. I'll kick that ball. Anyway,
for what it's worth, the last time we had an onside kick, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was in the NFC Championship game where Brandon Bostic of the Packers, it happened to bounce off of him and landed in Chris Matthews' arms. So,
is that the last time?
We did have one.
Is that the last successful one? Not. It can't be. Has it been that long? 7 years ago?
They don't even, and you know that they don't even count that in the stats, because it's the playoffs. They don't count it. So every time they pull it up in the stats, they don't count it. So kind of sucks that they don't recognize it.
Having any? I mean, it's been a while, but
somebody in the chat look it up. I don't want to look it up myself right now, but I want to know the last time, if it was that really it, because that would be a sad state of affairs. Younghoe Koo kicked 4 onside kicks in one game? 3 in a row. In one game. We haven't kicked one in like 6 years or something like that. Anyway, somebody look it up. I really want to know. I hadn't thought about it until we brought this subject up, and I didn't think we'd be talking about onside kicks today, but it is something that there comes that time. It may only be once a year, maybe twice, where you go, oh my God, we really need to be able to kick an onside kick right now. We need to kick an onside kick in the playoff game in the wild card against Dallas. Was it 2 seasons ago? Remember that game? If we could have gotten that, we could have had a chance of winning that game, and it was terrible. I think Michael Dixon did his little drop kick thing, and it went like 15 yards down the field, not even close. So I think it's underestimated, underrated. Nick LeBeau said, yep, it was the NFC Championship. You're right, Steezy. That's embarrassing. That's over half a decade.
Wow. That shows that we haven't actually had to use it onside kick in a while.
To use it. I know at least 2 or 3 occasions where we needed to have an onside kick. I just named it against Dallas.
I know there's some teams that have to use it multiple times a year because they're so bad, or they're having to come back constantly behind. But the Michael Dixon drop kick, I don't know why everybody's like, oh, he can drop kick the ball. That means he's going to be good. and all that.
Hasn't worked yet.
The drop kicks have either gone woo.
Well, that's the thing, is that even though we haven't done many of them, the ones we have done have not even been close. I mean, they're not even close. They're like 15, 20 yards down the field. Like, what was that? What was that crappy kick? That wasn't even, like, you weren't even trying. So I think it's something they got to work on. And this is something Coach Marsh has brought up, that when is the last time Seattle has run any kind of trick plays? Right, even under Darrell Bevel, we had a few like flea flickers, throwbacks to Russell Wilson, stuff like that. But we really haven't had any of that stuff. And again, it was, if it not for the trick play, the fake field goal in that NFC Championship game, we wouldn't be talking about that game or a second Super Bowl appearance in the last decade. So I think I'd like to see some of that. I don't know if Shane Waldron's that kind of guy to throw a trick play in there, but I hope we do. That's one thing that I think would be fun. It's like the onside kick thing. You don't count on it, but it's nice to have it in your bag of tricks and know that you can actually do it. But you got to actually practice it to be able to do it. So hopefully they'll work that into their repertoire. So, yeah, man, it's crazy.
I think the last time we did a flea flicker was the Rams game in LA. This past year, but the flea flicker wasn't successful because Russell didn't want to throw it to DK. He just threw it like a little screen or a little backdoor pass to Lockett, and he took it for about 30 yards. Nothing special, of course, but
yeah,
that was pretty much it.
What was your guys' this is way off, different topic here, but what was your favorite game of 2020? Either favorite game or favorite moment. I'll start with favorite game. What was your favorite game of 2020? Start with you, Steezy. Throw the curveball at you. Just, I don't know, it didn't have to even be a win, but just the best game that we played in 2020. What was the best one? That was just like the most memorable.
Wow.
Throwing a trick out. While you're thinking, I'll throw mine out there. I'm gonna just say right off the top, the first one that comes to mind is the Minnesota game. The Minnesota primetime game, that comeback, and that defensive stop that we had to have, because if we don't get the defensive stop before that possession we take over, the game's over. They were like this far from ending the game, and we got that game and got that play. And then Russell had to be perfect almost going down the field, and eventually got that touchdown to DK Metcalf that won the game. But that was probably my favorite game of the year last year, just because of how close it came down to, and we had a lot of them. So that just happens to be what that popped to my head, just because it was such right backs against the wall. The defense made the stand, and then Russell was money down the stretch. How about you guys? Have you had a chance to process a particular game that jumps out as your favorite one from last year? It says Duran. Duran Everest says when we blew out the Jets 40-3
that was a boring game.
Fun, but they're boring. They're not exciting. Yeah. I guess I'm talking about the most exciting. Like you would want to rewatch it again. Steezy, Sky High, what you got?
Man, Norb, I hate to steal your thunder, but I got to go with the same game. Let me see if it was the right. Okay, that was, I guess, a couple years ago. But, this game really just stands out in my memory. I can remember the entire fourth quarter drive at the end. We converted, 3 fourth downs? But, yeah, it wouldn't have been possible without that stop of that wasn't Dalvin Cook, was it? Was it Alex
Madison?
What was his name? Madison, yeah.
Madison.
Alexander Madison.
And he had been running all up and down. He'd been running all up and down the Seahawks all game. So it was the right call, the right play.
I think he had 100+ yards.
Yeah, yeah, he did.
He's literally gashing us.
I remember that time too. I remember that time too because they were up by 4. They could have kicked the field goal and made it to where I believe we would have been down, where a touchdown and an extra point would have just tied the game, if my memory serves.
Right.
So then, because there's a debate about should they have gone for it and sealed the win, or should they have kicked the field goal and left it to chance that we could tie the game up. Obviously, if we knew what happened, they didn't get it. At least I think that was the situation. Anyway, yeah. It's let's see what Sky High Aviation thinks. Do you have a different game in mind of your favorite from last year?
First of all, only Russell Wilson goes 90 yards down the field and scores the game-winning touchdown with one timeout and less than 90 seconds going to go in the game. Only Russell Wilson, remember? So, actually, this isn't my favorite game because, I kind of hate the games where we kind of just come back and we win at the end. It was an awesome game, don't get me wrong, but I'm sitting there at halftime Bro,
It was like the NFC Championship game. We sucked the entire first half. Yeah, it was a horrible first half, for sure.
We're losing to the Vikings. And so my favorite game is going to be the first best game is when we stop New England again at the 1 yard line. I call it 1 yard line mania because it's just every time there's something like intense going on with Seattle, it always takes place at the 1 yard line or inside the 5 yard line. So I kind of remember it like this. It's been a great game. The offense is rolling. We had the defense had stuck back then, but we had interception and all that. They keep moving the ball, and at this point it's late, and me and my dad are just watching the game, and I don't have school tomorrow, so I'm like, yeah, relax, and I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna score. Cam Newton's gonna take it in on the last play, and I'm just sitting there with my hands on my head, just like walking around, pacing, and my dad is known for not reacting at all. He just sits there when we score. Sometimes he'll just pop out a, woo, Metcalf, let's go! But otherwise, he's just quiet most of the game. Last play, they snap it. Cam Newton gets stopped. I go ballistic. I start just pounding on the floor. Yes, he stopped it. And my dad goes out. He goes, oh, can't say that word on TV. He stopped him. They didn't get it. We start going ballistic. It was insane. And I couldn't fall asleep. I was just like, we did it. We won. How? So it was pretty insane.
That was pretty insane.
So,
Daddy Dennis in the chat agrees. Russell's 5 touchdowns, no interceptions versus Patriots, probably my favorite. That was a great game. Anytime it comes down to the last play of the game, right? Mm-hmm. I really thought that we were going to lose that one because we had seen Cam Newton run over our defense into the end zone, the same exact place, pretty much the same play. And he had no resistance. I remember thinking, no, there's no way. How are we going to stop this guy? And then when he got upended, I think it was LJ Collier and it was our safety also, or our corner, Ugo Mati. Ugo Mati just sort of hit the blocker and knocked him down and basically clogged up the lanes.
Lano Hill, too.
Lano Hill. Maybe it was Lano Hill. But, yeah, that was awesome. That was a great game. That's the thing about this team, man. It's never boring. It's always exciting whenever it's the Seahawks. And, we are definitely lucky to have a team like this that has no lack of flair for the dramatics. That's for sure. And no matter what kind of season we're having, man, whether you hate it or love it, it's always on the edge of your seat. And I do think that is a Russell Wilson thing. I mean, again, for those people who are ready to cast him off when the controversy was going down, I'm like, you guys don't know what you got. You got such a good thing here. You can't not want to have him go because I don't care what replacement guy you think you can get or what guy in the draft you can get or some other quarterback you think you can turn into Russell Wilson. That is a hard act to follow, man.
Now I gotta say, I kind of want to see if this is an interesting topic. We've all made sacrifices for sports, kind of like I missed homecoming last year just to watch a baseball game because I was so invested in the Astros trying to go to the World Series to beat the Yankees. Boo me all if you want in the chat because I know they're cheaters. I don't care. I was like, my friends were like, come to homecoming. You don't have to invite a girl or all that. It was just come with the boys. And I was like, no, I think I'm going to go and stay watch the Astros because they can clinch a World Series win tonight. And I was like, they're like, oh, whatever. We'll have fun without you. I'm like, I don't care. Altuve ended up walking it off that night, and I haven't gone crazy that night by watching the game. So it was worth missing homecoming just to see my sports team succeed to go to the World Series. So that's all that mattered. And then the Rams game from last year as well. That was the best game from last year. You can debate me on that one. But we had a lot of good games last year, too.
Where are you from, Sky High? You're a Seahawks fan, but then you're a Houston Astros fan. I'm confused on how you're territorially connected to all these teams here.
Oh,
you're not from the Seattle area, are you?
No. All right, here we go. This will be a bit to take in. So my parents are originally...
Give me the short version because we have about 10 minutes left to wrap the show.
Oh, that's right. We're out of time.
Keep the story efficient.
I was born in Texas, and then around kindergarten we moved to Seattle, Washington, and that's where I became a football fan, a Seahawks fan, and then we moved back to Texas, and now we're here in Ohio, and now you can IP grab me and find out where I am, like Nick LeBeau did. So
you became a Houston fan growing up in Texas, Oh, so how did the Seahawks connection? Well, why the Seahawks? You never lived in this area. Why did you become a fan of Seattle?
I went to a game once, and it was back
in Seattle or in
Seattle,
Texas?
In Seattle, 2011. And I remember everybody saying the quarterback sucked, and then I realized it's Tavares Jackson because he does suck. Rest in peace, though. He's very sad that he's gone. But that's kind of when I fell in love with it. I was just like, this is interesting. It's just kind of grew more into the knowledge, and then became more interested since. And then I found you, and then I went to a preseason game, and I sat in the same section. I was like, oh my God, that's NorbCam. Dad, we gotta go say hi to him. It's NorbCam. Oh my gosh.
Is that the one? Is that where you have that picture? Do you have that picture handy still? The one that you had earlier?
Yeah, I do. Well, that's not it. I have it. It's here. So,
that's from the NFC Championship game with the onside kick we're talking about. You have all kinds of.
No, it was a preseason game, I think.
Oh, that was preseason. I thought we met at the that game right there.
Yeah, there you go. There's me to the.
That's not the NFC Champ game?
This is the NFC Champ game.
That's what I meant.
Meet you actually in that game.
Oh, okay. I thought that was the day we met. Okay, gotcha. That's you on the left and your brother on the right.
Yep, my brother on the right.
And I think this was right out of the elevator or something right after the game, after we won, wasn't it?
No, it was before. It was because it was raining. Oh. It was raining so hard that we were all shuttled, kind of pushed inside, and everybody was out of the streets and all that. And my dad saw you. My dad ended up catching you, and he pulled on your shirt, and you turned around, and you were like, and he was like, "My sons love you. They literally love your YouTube channel. Can you please take a picture with them?"
You're so young here. This was what, 5 years ago? 6 years ago? 6 years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
So you're just a mere 9-year-old back then, right? Yeah. My math is correct. Yeah, oh man, that's good stuff though. You guys send me that picture. I don't think I have that picture. Yeah, send that to me, by the way.
I sent it to you in Discord, I think.
Oh, okay.
And you were like, "Oh, little sky high." That's what you responded with.
So Steezy, I don't know if we've ever really talked about your background. We probably did way back in the beginning, but since we're kind of in this off-topic mode here, you grew up here, right? Or did you grow up somewhere else and move here? You've always been a Seattle guy?
I did. Yes, sir. I was born in Hawaii. I was born over in Oahu. But after, I think, a couple of months, we moved over to Virginia. And that's when my younger brother was born. And I think I was from 1 to 5. We were in Virginia, and then we ended up moving to Tacoma when I was around 5 or 6 years old. And then ever since then, I've been over here in Seattle.
And what team did you fall in love with first? Was it football? Was it basketball? What got you first? There's always that first team that you first started to follow, right? Do you remember the order of the teams? I know you're a Seattle guy, so what was your?
Right.
How did you fall into the sports, and what was the order of things in terms of the start of your sports career? What got you? What bug bit you first?
It was the Lakers. As you guys might or might not know, I'm actually more of a basketball fan than I am a football fan, but I'm a huge football fan / Seahawks fan, and so don't let that fool you. But it was the Lakers. Growing up, my dad was a big Kobe guy, and I've talked about this, or I've actually written this down in previous articles, but I started getting into sports journalism / broadcasting because growing up, I'd watch the Lakers, and I remember watching Kobe. He was one of my favorite players growing up, and I remember just falling in love with the game, and I really just started watching NBA basketball because of Kobe and Shaq on the Lakers, and then later on when it was Kobe and Pau Gasol and those other guys, 2009, 2010, 2011. It was really those years where I really just started more and more basketball. The Miami Heat as well. I think growing up, Dwayne Wade was another one of my favorite players, and so just those teams really, and I still really have ties to those teams. The Lakers still a team that I root for. The Miami Heat to this day, a team that I consider myself a fan of. And then with the Seahawks, I really started watching games when I was I think when I was in like 5th, 6th grade, so around 2009, 2010-ish. It was the year we had Tavares Jackson as our quarterback. That was my first full season of watching every single game, every single year. I did watch the Super Bowl in 2005, 2006 when we lost to the Steelers, but that was really the only game that I remember watching before Tavares Jackson was on the Seahawks. So it's been some time.
And I know that Sky High is a Houston Astros fan, which it was very cool to see the Mariners beat the Astros in this series over the weekend.
Whoa.
We haven't talked at all about the Mariners, but it must be said that the Mariners, since we mentioned the topic of baseball, Mariners off to a surprisingly hot start, being I think they're now 11-7 after losing last night to the Dodgers, but they split games with the Dodgers and then beat the Houston Astros to be in first place in the AL West, which is pretty cool. I guess we'll have to keep talking about them if they continue to win. But Seattle has started, the Mariners have started hot before, and then we've seen what usually happens about once the season gets going. But gotta appreciate what we can. Yeah, exactly. We got to appreciate what we can. Chef Jack Attack in the Super Chat says, Michael Jordan is the best basketball player ever. You were, I guess, Jordan was a little bit before your time. Or were you watching Jordan back in then? I mean, you were pretty young then, but that would have been a little bit earlier during the Jordan era. But you must have come to love his game as well.
Chef is so young.
In my eyes, I think he's still the GOAT of basketball. If you ask Squab, he'll tell you it's LeBron. So we've gotten into that debate many times before. But yeah, MJ, definitely one of my inspirations as well growing up. I remember my uncle would have a whole bunch of Michael Jordan just memorabilia. I remember wanting all of his basketball cards, all of his Michael Jordan trading cards. Even to this day, I mean, I'm still in awe. Aren't we all?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So are there any other sports? You mentioned, obviously, basketball, and then there's football. So do any of those sports fall on your radar? Are you baseball at all? Soccer? Hockey? Any of those games fall under, what you kind of cover?
Oh, yeah. That's why I have a baseball guy on my team, because growing up, baseball was actually my first sport. It was the first sport I ever played. It was the sport that I wanted to play professionally as a kid. And I remember just playing catch with my dad. We played almost every single day, my brother, my dad, and I, and we'd be over at the field. But this one day, I remember taking a fastball to the eye, and I remember my eye was pretty messed up for a cool bit, and my nose couldn't stop bleeding. But I was a little traumatized that day, and so I shifted my focus towards basketball. And then soccer, I actually used to play soccer when I was in 4th grade. It was one of the sports that I'd play nonstop. And so I'm actually getting more and more into soccer. I've started watching it more, and it's definitely something I want to cover. But all sports, really, boxing, even as growing up as a kid, I used to spar against my brother. My uncles would make us, have these little play fights. We'd put on the gloves, and I just have a passion and a love for really all these sports, including UFC, tennis. I used to want to play tennis growing up as well, but I never really got into that. But I really just have a passion for all sports, really.
What about hockey?
You play all the sports.
Yeah, man. Put the athlete. Put the athlete for sure.
Hockey? No, I don't know. I never got into hockey. Even to this day, it's not really something that intrigues me. It's not something that I'd want to cover. But seeing as how we have the Kraken in town, and they're going to start playing, that's definitely something I want to cover. Or at least get someone that could cover that for us. So,
yeah. All right. Well, we are pretty much to the end of our time. So I guess last bit here, if you guys want to remind everybody, if there's a video you guys got coming up, make sure you guys subscribe to these guys' channels. They're in the description. Also, follow their social media as well. So, Steezy, I'll let you go first. What do you got going? I want to let people know to look out for on your channel.
Yes, sir. To everybody that's been tuned in, to everybody that did tune in, shout out you guys. I mean, you guys are really what keeps us going. And so I want to thank everybody out there that subscribed, that shows love. That really means the world, for real. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for Norb, for Squab, Sky High Aviation, Coach for Life, Seahawks Martin. Definitely hit that like button as well. Drop a comment if you haven't already. And then you can find me at DZA Smith on social media platforms. We literally cover all sports, so expect to see a whole bunch of sports on my channel if you haven't already subbed. And like I said, I'm dropping a video right after we get off of this stream why Stephen Curry or how Stephen Curry could still win NBA MVP. This one's actually one of my longer videos, and so to all my Steph Curry fans out there, NBA fans, basketball fans, this one's for you. And again, Norb, thank you so much for today. It's always a blast every single Wednesday, and Sky High, always a pleasure being able to speak with you. So shout out to you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Steezy. Yeah, check out his video. Steezy, you do some great work. So I love watching the evolution of your channel and all the stuff that you and your team are doing. It's amazing. So go sub him up. Go follow him on social media. And Sky High Aviation. How about you, man? Tell everybody again what you got going on, what to look for from your channel, Sky High.
All right.
Is that the NFC Championship, by the way, behind you? Is that the NFC Champ game that we're talking about?
Yeah.
Cool.
I just digged through some files and I found some videos. Okay, and my screen just went dark. So if you like aviation and planes, then my channel is for you. We just surpassed 100 subs. We just had an epic Poggers moment. And I'm surprised Norb doesn't know what Poggers means, but Coach Marsh does.
I know what it means. I know what it means now. I didn't know. I know what it means now, yes.
Good.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So, what basically, I stopped uploading because of the coronavirus. Obviously, I think I may be traveling this summer, maybe uploading. I'm trying to work on streaming Flight Simulator streams right now, where I fly. I'll get you in the Discord or in a Coach for Life Discord. I'll get you guys. Where you guys want me to fly and what plane you want me to fly, and I'll go ahead and do that for you guys. But speaking of Coach for Life, I am currently Coach for Life property right now because I am working on Coach Marsh's Roundtable, and that's live every Saturday, and Norb comes in and checks in on us. Actually, last time I was on, we had Squabo and Steezy pop in, so it's a pleasant little thing. We also just passed 100 subs on that. Go sub to all these guys: Steezy, Norb, Squabo, Seahawks Martin, Abker. He doesn't even have a YouTube channel, but go listen to him on YouTube. Coach Marsh, join all the Discords. I mean, we have Discords for everybody. We have Discord for Steezy. We have Discord for Norb. We have Discord for Coach. We have Discord for Noah. We are DJ Squabo. We have Discord for literally everybody. I mean, this Brian Abker Discord may even get started soon. So we have a Seahawks Martin Discord. Go sub. Thank you for all YouTube mods. They're doing a great job. Rishi, Elena Dahl, Nick LeBeau. Everybody's doing a great job. We're building a great community here, and I'm super happy to be a part of it. So,
well, Sky High, again, you've done so well on those trivia contests. So, congratulations. You definitely earned your spot here with how many trivia wins you've been able to pull off. It's amazing. So, Chef Jack Attack adds in the super chat, I love the UFC. And he says, Sky High and Steezy, what's your favorite video game? We'll end with that before we sign off. For me, I'll start off with mine. Madden and GTA. That's pretty much all I play. And it's mostly been Madden. I haven't had time for much anything else. So, as you guys know, on my Madden live stream. So, how about you, Steezy? You have much time for video games? I'll get to you in a second. Yeah,
so actually, I'm trying to get back into 2K and Madden, and I'm going to start live streaming soon. And so I've been kind of playing those games the last couple of weeks, trying to knock the rust off. But growing up, I mean, I was a big 2K guy, big Madden guy. That's kind of how I got some of my knowledge. I'd study the rosters. I'd study, player movement and all that. But yeah, it's the boring answer, but NBA 2K and NFL Madden for me.
All right, and how about you, Sky High?
Norb, they're asking in the chat, or I know I've had people ask me real quick that are you ever going to stream GTA on your channel?
I've been meaning to. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to just make sure. I got to make sure it's because GTA is very mature language stuff on there. I'm not sure how to handle that and make sure I'm not going to get anybody, some of the younger audience watching. I don't want to get in trouble with their parents for playing something that's so violent with all the language and stuff. So I'm trying to figure it out. Maybe I just have to put a warning for viewer discretion advised, something like that. But go ahead and wrap it up there, Sky High, since we got to wrap the show up right now.
My favorite, if I had to pick a favorite video game, it would more likely have to be MLB The Show. That thing is so MLB The Show. I have 19 right now, so that's the best one, and I'm playing for the Mariners actually right now. So it's a great game. I like it a lot. I can put in my custom walk-up song, which is "We are the 12th men, Seahawks, we got Joe back again." So every time I walk up to the plate, I hear NorbCam.
Really? Wow, that's cool. Wow, I got my music in your show. Awesome. You should stream some of that stuff, man. You can always do that while you're at home during these strange times.
Good idea.
All right. Very cool, guys. Well, we're going to wrap the show up. So if you want to keep watching, got more videos, just pop in over here. There's one over here you might like, or over here. But definitely check these guys' content out. Subscribe. And we will talk to you guys more later. All right. Have a great rest of your week. Talk to you actually tomorrow for the fan panel. Same time as this. Tomorrow we have a few more guests to talk more Seahawks. All right. Have a great one. Good night, y'all. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.